Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are live at Camping Woods Stadium, and we're here for the Spin Master Monster Jam World Finals. Monster Jam World Finals XXI. And we're here with a commemorative truck, and we are live for the event of the World Finals. And there are 40 trucks, and there is going to be only one winner to get that trophy. And let's start things off with Higher Education versus Whiplash. And we're going to start things off with Higher Education and Whiplash. And Higher Education moves on. Next up is Grinder and Meta Malaysia. And Grinder makes it and moves on to the next round. Next up, El Toro Loco versus The Destroyer. And The Destroyer wins. Next up, Max D versus Megalodon. And Max D wins and moves on to the next round. Right. Next up, Mohawk Warrior versus Bakugan Dragonoid. And Mohawk Warrior did manage to make it, so he advances. Next up, Wonder Woman versus Bustin' Loose. Next up, Wonder Woman versus Bustin' Loose. And Wonder Woman makes it and moves on to the next round. Next up is Hurricane Force versus Drastic Attacks Replacement Hot Wheels 68. And Hurricane Force moves on. Next up is Scooby-Doo versus Son of a Digger. And Scooby-Doo moves on. Next up is Aftershock versus Brodozer. And Aftershock moves on. Next up is Big Kahuna versus Blue Thunder. And Blue Thunder makes it and moves on. Next up is Monster Man Husky versus Overkill Evolution. And Monster Man Husky makes it. Next up is Alien Invasion versus Radical Rescue. And Alien Invasion moves on. Next up is Monster Man Dalmatian versus Makita Suzuki. And ooh, Monster Man almost made it. Never mind, guys. Monster Man Dalmatian touched it. We checked the replay, and so Monster Man Dalmatian moves on to the next round. Next up is Backdraft versus Earthshaker. And Backdraft moves on. Next up is Annihilator versus Ice Northern Nightmare. And Annihilator moves on. Next up is Wildflower versus Monster Mutt. And Wildflower moves on. Next up is Zombie Hunter versus Ice Cream Man. And Zombie Hunter takes the win. Next up is Wild Fang versus NEA Police. And Wild Fang moves on. Next up is Soldier Fortune versus Captain's Curse. And Soldier Fortune, that had a good race, moves on. And the final race of round number 1 is Gravedigger versus Time Flies. And Gravedigger moves on.